Hey y'all, good day everyone. How you doing today? Whoa, it's awesome having you again in our podcast, and I know that God is so good. Today is just a great as ever. Great, and I don't know where you are, I don't know what you're going through, but just know that it is a great and beautiful day. And the year is great. This month is actually running very fast, but we're going further and we're moving to the next stage and the next phase. And God is still God, and God is awesome in our lives. So, like as usual, I just want to know how you're doing today, how you're been able to navigate life all through the day. It's just great knowing that you're there and you're ready to keep moving in God's direction. And today I have a very beautiful guest in the house. But before I do that, I just want to welcome you to Grief to Grace, the platform where we turn our pains into purpose, the platform where we move from being stuck to being unstuck. And we help in this platform to move you forward as much as you we can. And with God's grace on our side, we'll always get there. And I tell you, I'm your host, Hephzibah, as usual, and I'm deeply honored to have you um, listening this day and always following through in this podcast. I love you, and I want to say I appreciate you for all that you do in our lives. You're good, you're great, and I cannot be who I am today without you. So thank you so much for all you do in every day, and may the Lord continue to be with you and bless you in all that you do in Jesus' name. So this podcast is better from my own experience, and I tell you, it's been a great experience all the way. And it's been a great experience after I lost my husband and I had to navigate with my four kids and go through all of the depression, the anxiety, the stress, and all of it that comes with it. And God decided and saw me and chose me worthy to be able to do what I'm doing today. I just want to give all glory to God. And that also resonates with what we have today, the guests we have today, who have who also experienced loss in her own part. And but before I talk to you about what she went through and who our guest is, I want to introduce to you our book. This is my book, and as usual, this is a pen that writes grief. And I want to thank you all for always getting it and subscribing, buying, and for all the messages that I get from it. I just want to say, please continue to patronize and get it for those, for your loved ones, for your family, because this is the way we can support this podcast. If you like what I'm doing and what we're doing here at Grief to Grace, then you need to get a pen that will write grief, because you are the pen that will rewrite your own grief. So thank you so much. And as I was saying earlier, that um we we I've been like through stages in life, and God took me through all these stages so that I'll be able to experience a lot. And in that journey, I was able to also get one of my songs. I was singing it all through today, and I just deemed it fit that okay, maybe God wants me to actually play it here so you listen to it. So this song is one song that I used to praise my God, and it was written by me. It was composed and sung by me, and I just want to say thank you. So I will not be taking all of it, but just listen to the video that you can, and we'll be right back as we bring up our guest into the platform to be able to tell us all that she has for us today. So this song is titled Lord You Reign. and you can get it in all of the music platforms, Spotify, everywhere that music is being heard.
You are the God, you are my God. You are the sunshine and the rain. You are
You
the
are the
shelter that I seek. Oh Lord, you reign. You
you
give
give
the
us
strength
strength unto
unto the
the
weak.
weak.
You
You
make
make
the
the
parable
people
to
to
conceive.
conceive.
You are
You
my
are the
God,
God,
you
you
are
are
my
my
Lord.
God.
Oh
Oh,
Lord,
Lord,
you
you
reign. Jehovah
Jehovah
reign,
reign,
oh Lord,
Lord,
you
you reign.
reign. Jehovah
Jehovah
reign,
reign,
Lord,
Lord,
you
you reign.
reign. You
You
are
are
the
the
essence of
essence
my life. Oh Lord,
Lord,
you
reign.
reign. Jehovah
Jehovah reign,
reign, Lord,
Lord,
you
you reign.
reign. Jehovah
Jehovah reign,
reign, Lord,
Lord,
you
you
reign.
reign.
You
You
are
are
the
the
essence
essence
of
of
my
my life.
life. Oh
Lord,
Lord, you
you
reign.
So yeah,
You are my
so
God,
God is
you
the
are my
essence of our
Lord.
lives. Is the reason why we're living. Is the reason
Oh
why we can
Lord, you
breathe, and
reign.
He reigns all over. I
You
kept on
give
singing
the
this song,
strength
and I'm
unto
like, God,
the
what
weak.
are you
You
actually
make the
saying? What are you
parable.
actually saying today? What are you trying to say? I know this may resonate with someone today, and whatever you're going through, just remember to say, God, you reign in my life, and continue to thank Him
Jehovah
because
reign,
He
oh
is
Lord, you
God and He is awesome.
reign.
Okay,
Jehovah
so thank you so much
reign,
for always being
Lord, you
there and joining us
reign.
all the
You
time
are
on
the
this
essence
podcast.
of
So today,
my
like I
life.
said, we have
Oh Lord, you
our guest in the house, and our
reign.
guest is Natalie Lamb, and I'll be
Jehovah
bringing her up right
reign,
now.
Lord, you
And
reign.
she is an
Jehovah
awesome woman,
reign,
so great
Lord, you
woman that
reign.
she's been
You
through
are
a
the
lot, and God has
essence
used
of
her story
my
to actually
life.
reach out to a
Oh
lot of people. I
Lord,
don't
you
know where you are right now,
reign.
but just remember that there is never a stage that is called be stuck. There is a stage called movement. So you just need to keep moving, keep learning. And then,
In time of
Natalie said in
trouble, you
when
are
we were
my
talking
peace.
that she
In your
actually
presence, all
learned, got
spirit
wisdom
guide.
from grief,
You
that
are
grief
the
taught
rock
her a lot,
on
and that is what
which
she's using
I
today.
stand.
So, Natalie, I just want to
Lord,
say
you
thank you for joining us today.
reign.
She is an author, she is a
In
coach,
time
and
of
she is
darkness,
a
you
mentor.
are
So, I know that
the
you'll be able
light,
to learn a lot from Natalie
guiding
as
me
she shares her
through
story
the
today. So, how are
stormy
you doing?
night.
I am doing
In
well.
the
Thank you for having me, Ruth.
Jehovah
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
oh
So,
Lord, you
how's the journey
reign.
been all these years?
The journey has been the
Jehovah
journey, right?
reign, Lord, you
We speak of the grief journey in
reign.
particular, and
Lord, you
unfortunately, grief has been actually a part of my
are
life
the
for a long time.
essence of
And
my
the
life.
most, I think,
Oh Lord, you
it's 15, 16.
reign.
I've been with my husband since I was 15. So
Jehovah
his
reign,
little sister
Lord,
passed
you
away,
reign.
and she was 4 years old, and that probably was the most life changing, but did not realize it because I was too young to realize it, right? I didn't know what was kind of written on me from that. We fast forward, me and my husband get married. About a year or two later, his mom passes away
Your love flows
through
like a
a journey of
river.
cancer, but she ended up passing
In your
away.
presence, I
And then we
find
fast
where I
forward,
go.
and
Through every
22 years ago, I
season,
lost my
joy
mom.
or pain.
Sudden heart attack,
Forever and
unexpected
always,
on
oh
Mother's
Lord,
Day.
you reign.
And it
Your
was
grace
the
sustains me
most life
through each day.
altering, but it was
Even though I'll
also the
forever
most
stay.
pivotal point
Through
where
trials
I
and pain
finally
and
found
joy or pain.
God. more for myself. Um, my parents have had a church, so I've been to church my whole life. Known God, believed God, but at that moment of losing her, I had to reconnect to Him. I had to find out if this whole thing was real because I was really angry. Um, I wasn't able to just, push it all down and not feel it and just give it to God and say, well, He does these things. She's in a better place. For me, I was 26. My daughter was just 18 months. And it was just like, how do I do this? What am I doing? How could you allow this to happen? Believing God is sovereign, and orchestrates it all. So it was that moment of like, okay, God, this is the stuff you do. Now, how do I deal with it, right? How do I come back from this? How do we stay connected through it? And it really was that journey of me fighting with God, if I could say that, of me questioning Him, of me being angry, of me being super vulnerable, but me holding on to Him, right? Maybe just by my pinky finger, but holding on to Him in hopes that He would guide me, lead me, show me, heal me, right? And I did it out loud. I did it, not in a corner, even though a lot of times, and especially in our culture, um, it's pushed down, right? We don't grieve out loud. It's something everyone does because grief is going to touch all of us. But it's not something you do out loud. You don't talk about it. You just kind of accept it and kind of figure out how do you put your pieces together and you move on. For me, and even though my father, had the church, I couldn't do it quietly. I was out of sorts, and I've never been a person that really kind of fakes it. So I cried, I screamed, I yelled, I went into solitude because that's where God kind of took me into, was this place of just me and Him, where He could mold me, remake me, reshape me, ignite me again, give me a certain amount of compassion and care that I did not have before because I had never experienced it to this extent, right? And so with that, I decided to help others. I used my pain, I used my discomfort, I used my not knowing to learn about what it is to grieve. So I studied grief from so many different angles, gathering as much information as I could, so that I could, one, for myself, right, figure out how to get through this, how to stay present for my daughter in particular, because I did not want her to ever not feel me present for her life. That was really, really important. It was probably my catalyst of saying, you got to figure this thing out. You got to know how to do this. You got to not fall apart. And so I started studying it. I started looking at it. I was, in the midst of my studying it and me finding God, on real, real terms. It was the creation of, I have a support group for grief that I've been doing, for almost a decade now. And it's been a beautiful, painfully beautiful experience to be very human in this walk. And I don't hide that it was a struggle. I don't hide that I had a lot of falls while I was learning how to walk again without her. Um, but it has given me a new perspective on life and a new way to be able to reach people, which I'm super grateful for because I could have fallen apart, right? But for the grace of God, He allowed this to be a testimony. He allowed this to be a catalyst to be able to touch other people's lives. Even though I've always, since I was 22, I've been coaching people, teaching people, guiding people in all kinds of facets of life. This was new. This was different. This was way more vulnerable than I had ever been before. But, it is a testament that if we do believe God, right, the way we say we believe Him, and if we trust Him, um, and we give our lives to him, right? Like all the broken pieces, all the pains, the hurts, the unknowns. He really can make something beautiful. And I'm grateful for his hand being on me as he keeps teaching me, as he keeps showing me how, right? The grief journey is lifelong. It never ends. I will always want my mother. I will always wish she was with me. Um, I recently lost my father as well in 2021. And I lost my brother in 2019. So the journey continues. It is constant. You just learn how to ride the waves, as I tell my grief group, and you feel through it. But had I not had the experience with my mother and me choosing God as God chose me, is how I put it, I would not have had, I think, the faith to be able to keep taking some of the other blows that have come. I have learned how to hold on to the anchor and know that even though the winds are blowing really hard and I feel like I'm sloshing all in the water, I know that that anchor won't move, and I know that I will be safe because I'm in his arms, and I don't have to do all the saving of myself. I really do let him save me now.
Wow, that's awesome. Oh my God, just a lot that you've been through. you know, when you were just talking about it, saying all the stuff that you've been through, like the journey you've gone through, I'm just trying to put myself in to know, whoa, how did she cope? You know,
Uh,
so what are those coping skills that you use that helped you? Because I know there are people that are also going through the same kind, like it looks like it's never ending and they're
yeah.
almost losing it. So what were those coping skills you used?
So, I mean, I do a mixture of coping skills. I mean, God is first and foremost. When everything else stops working, He always works, right? But I learned how to feel and not be afraid of my feelings. I
Mm,
think a lot of times, especially when grieving, feeling feels so uncontrollable sometimes, and you feel like it's gonna completely take you under. But what I've learned is that, emotions are just like waves. They come and they go. Even if it's a 10-foot wave, it still has to go because it's the nature of emotion. So when I am okay with feeling, I'm saying, okay, overwhelm me, drown me, right? I know you're going to pass. And so I never try to avoid the feelings.
mm,
I just allow them to come. And they come. And they come often unexpected, right? Anything can trigger a feeling, and you'll be like, this is not what I signed up for today, but here we are.
yeah.
So, right, so let's do this. And when I am comfortable with them coming and going, I don't have to try to hold on to them to keep something there, especially in the beginning. Sometimes the intensity of the moment or the emotion keeps us, as we think, closer to our person. Because, the pain, the ache, all of that, though you want it to go, you also know that it's a connection, right? And so when I am allowed to release the connection of every fleeting emotion, I am connected to the memory always. I'm never without because they have etched themselves on me, right? And I have to hold on to that. If we look at it as, grief is the price that we pay for love,
Mm,
then not happily. I received the grief because I love so well and I was loved well, right? And so I can accept the sorrow, the pain, the missing because I had them. And at least I had them. And sometimes within the journey, you have to make sense of the loss, right?
mm,
You don't have to like the loss ever. But there is an acceptance that has to come. And the
that's true.
acceptance takes a long time, right?
Yeah.
It's a constant accepting that we go through for every new thing that we encounter without them. It's a new acceptance that they're not here. So life becomes very bittersweet. For me, especially with my mom, when I stopped trying to fill the hole of her, I was actually able to start breathing again.
Yeah.
So I just accepted that my life forever will have a hole the size of my mom. And so I stopped trying to fill it. I stopped trying to make the hole go away. I just said, this is my new life and I have to create a new normal around the hole. And so I gladly live with the hole because I had her. And then, I got a lot of holes now.
Yeah.
But they're holes filled with people that I adored, that spoke life to me, that loved me, right? I cried a hot minute over any of them. But it's a gift. And with that gift, you have the missing that forever accompanies you. But you say, this is my life now, right? So you learn how to make it through, right? Some days are harder than others. But there's a lot of good days too. There's a lot of good days too. You learn to have more gratitude. You learn to open your eyes to the frailty of living because we never know when life is going to give us the blow of losing someone. So you hold people a little tighter. You smell the roses a little longer. You do the things that bring you joy a little longer. You learn how to really invest in the here and now. One thing I took on was really living in the day, right? I mean, God told us not to take thought for tomorrow, to live in the day, right? And that became like a real anthem for me. It became something that helped me actually survive because I realized I only had to get through the day. I didn't have to worry about what's coming next month, if I was going to make it through another year. It was just in this day what is happening, right? In this day, what gifts can I find? What lessons can I learn? What heartache can I make it through? It was just, okay, I have today, these little 24 hours. What do I do with them? And then I make the best of the 24 hours. They never have to be perfect. I never have to be 100%. I get to show up at whatever percentage I am each day. And for me, grief taught me that. It taught me there's going to be days when you are at 20%. And if you can give 20%, then you have given all you had. And then the days where I'm 70, then wow. And the days that I get to, I don't know if I'm ever 100, but the days I get to 90, right? I've got that much more to give, right?
That's
So,
it. I can imagine. But you're right, because that's what people don't understand, and that's why most times people just keep judging people who grieving. But you don't need to judge them because you don't know what they're going through. Because
yeah,
sometimes the little they're giving out is much. It's just like the that coin that the lady going that last couple that last coin
yes,
that was dropped, and Jesus said she dropped her all. So sometimes
yeah,
that's what it's like for people who are grieving, because for them to wake up in the morning and just even wake up and move their feet and stand up from their bed is a big
yeah.
deal for some people.
Big deal. Yeah. And so it's learning in my grief group, I teach them be okay with just being good enough. Like we've been taught this bill of goods that you got to be perfect, you got to have it all together. You can't have any missteps. Well, I'm gonna have a lot, right? I'm not a perfect person because there's not one that exists except Christ, and so I don't have to be that for myself or anyone else. But I give myself permission to be human, and grief teaches you how to be human. It
Yeah.
teaches you how to feel, hopefully, how to be compassionate, how to be kind, how to be gentle, right? And I had to learn that I had to give that to myself first
Hmm.
before that I could give that to other people.
That's true.
So, right? So I had to give myself permission to grieve. I had to give myself permission to feel, to cry, to be lost, right? To be confused, to not know how to create this new normal. I had to give myself permission. And in giving myself permission, I was able to give permission to a whole lot of other people,
Hmm.
right? I believe you got to show it sometimes for
Yeah.
people to be able to understand it, right?
You're
You have
right.
Yeah, so it's like if I'm gonna be your coach, your teacher, your mentor, your guide, I gotta
Yeah,
do it first. Right?
that's
I have to
it.
walk the path. Yeah, yeah. I hate hypocrisy. So I do it out loud with my
Yeah,
stumble. So my people that follow me, that allow me to speak into their lives, we do it together. Like if anything, let us embrace that
that's
life is
true.
tough. It's hard sometimes.
Yes,
And so it's okay for it to be hard.
is
And so you learn
you
as you
need to
go.
learn. Yeah. You're right, because these are some things that people don't really get to hear. Because what people want to hear is okay, it's fine, it's good. You're just going to stop grieving today. You're just going to stop everything
Yeah,
right now. Don't worry. When you lie down and you wake up, everything is just going to keep moving. It doesn't work that way. It
it does
doesn't work
not.
that way. So it's a different ball game every day. Every day
Hmm.
you wake up is different, and I think this is really one of those things that people really need to hear. So
Yeah.
how has your experience with grief shaped your understanding of love and connection with those around you? And
Mm.
like your relationship or your practices, have they really helped you in your most healing process? And because I know there are a lot of people that need to hear this.
You know what? For me, like I had said that my husband's mom passed away years before my mother, right? And I thought I was like a really good wife and I was really supportive and I was really, and then after my mom passed, I was like, oh, this is what you felt? This is how hard it is? I could not imagine what it was until it came to me,
Yeah,
right? You can kind of empathize and sympathize with someone, but I think death is one thing you do have to experience
that is
fully
it.
for you to be able to really understand the
How it goes.
gravity, yeah, and the longevity of it, and how it constantly flips you and changes you over and over again,
But I
right?
keep saying
Um,
this. I keep saying, because that's the truth. If you've not experienced it, you will never know how it
no,
felt.
you never know, right? And so with that, it made me tune in more and be able to hold space for people better. So now I am, and I mean, I had it already, a gift, a little bit that God gave me, right? Of being to be kept compassionate and kind and understanding. But I'm able to take it to a whole nother level
Yeah.
because now I sit there and I say, let them speak to me about where they are instead of sometimes stepping in and trying to fix it and make it better. You realize that with grieving, there is no making better. It is really just holding space for people in the moments that come and go, right?
Yeah.
And so my connecting is being able to allow you to feel it completely.
Hmm.
With the loss of my mom, I mean, when I tell you I was a hot mess, I was a hot mess. Okay, like I was a wreck for years. My husband is an amazing man, and because he's dealt with so much death, I think he really gave me space to figure it out and be present for me and allow me to go through the changes. But it took our marriage through a lot because I was very connected to my daughter as far as I never wanted her to grow up and say you weren't there for me. So I was able to pour into her in a way that was healing for me and connecting. Um, but for him, I didn't know what I needed. And so I remember this time when we were like arguing, and we're people that like don't argue, okay? Because we've been together too doggone long and we just get along. And so we were like arguing and stuff, and I'm like, what is wrong with us? And he was like, let me take you to lunch. I go to lunch with him, and he's kind of like, what is wrong with you, right? In a
Mm-hmm.
nice, kind, sweet way. And I'm sitting there trying to figure it out, and it hit me. What I need from you is for you to protect me. And
Yeah.
that was a new space for me
Hmm.
because we've grown up together. We've had this relationship that was very equal because I we just like grew up together, right?
Yeah.
Again, I've been with him since I was 15. So it's like we just live life together in this beautiful way. But there, the losing of her made me feel very unsafe. And I did not have the language to tell him how unsafe I felt until that moment. It was like, I need you to be my protector. I need you to like see that I'm falling and pick me up. And that was like all he needed to hear because he did it beautifully after that. But I say this to say that the people you're in relationship with don't always know how to show up for you,
Sure. Yeah.
right? And so it's part of our job to sit back and learn what we need so that we can teach others because we are new. I am never who I was while I had a mother, right? I'm a new person that I had to create without having a mother. So that great question in grief is who was I and then who am I now? And you are always in that phase of creating who you are now, right? But it's up against who I was. And it's sometimes when we're grieving, which we don't sometimes understand, is that I grieve the loss of my person, but also grieve the loss of myself, the
Yeah.
self I was with them, the roles I played with them, the
That's
comfort I had with them, right?
yeah.
And so yeah, so while I'm grieving them, I'm grieving myself, but we often don't know how to actually articulate how much I've lost of me in the process. And then getting enough strength and courage to create again
Hmm.
becomes almost the task after, we lose someone very significant.
Hmm. This is awesome. You really touched a lot today. I'm telling you, you really touched a lot because in your journey of grief, there is just so much that goes on, and like I always say, and no one needs to be in grief alone, and everyone's grief is different, and you know. So, was there any moment in this journey that there was a defining? How will I put it now? Okay, was there any defining moment when you realized that healing was possible? And sometimes the therapist needs a therapist. So, what helped you in this journey? What helped you to actually now realize that yes, I can move past the stage? So I know you talked about acceptance and so many other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I have realized that the art of grieving is the healing. It is being able to walk through it that actually heals you.
Hmm.
And so when I was able to connect that me doing this out loud, me grieving and mourning is my healing. Me being able to talk about it openly and to share it with others is my healing. Is what gave me like a push to keep going forward. Um, Healing for me, how I look at it, is lifelong. It's never a destination that you just
No.
get to and it's over, right? It's this lifelong thing that you embark on. And so the journey of grief is the journey of healing. And because we keep living and we keep losing, you keep healing, right? And it is talking about it. Like we never can underestimate the power of being able to share our story, to being able to have someone listen kindly and gently. Um, it does change you and transforms you, and it's the power of connection,
Yeah.
right? Of knowing someone else hears you and sees you and is willing to listen to you and allow you to be a mess sometimes without trying to change you.
That's true. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing today because this is really enlightening and I'm really grateful to have you today on our podcast. So, but before you go, I know you do a lot of stuff. We talked about that before the podcast started. And So, can you talk to people about all you do and how they can reach you?
Yeah, so like I mean, I started off as a life and relationship coach, parent educator, um, and just the things of life, right? Grief came in after my mom passed, so it's just like a connecting through all the seasons of life that I have been, humbly grateful to be able to walk with people for almost 30 years of teaching them how and moving through it. I wrote two books that kind of show the journey. And
Wow.
they really are just they're books of wisdom. It's called the Wisdom Chronicles. The first one is called Open Your Eyes. And the second one is called What I Want You to Know. And they're just beautiful books that you can grow with, that go with you through life. Some phrases hit you most now. You pick the book up 6 months later, it's going to hit you again, and pick up something else. The What I Want You to Know, I wrote for my daughters throughout their lifetime. My oldest is 23. So I literally wrote the book up until she went off to college. And every time I thought of something that I wanted her to know, I would write it down. It started off out of the fear that I would pass away before I could give her everything I needed her to know. And so I started writing down all the lesson, all the wisdom that I wanted her to carry with her through life in case I'm not here, but you can have this book, right? To know how I want you to live your life, to give you pieces of me to carry with you throughout life, in case I passed away. And that was really the origination of that book and how it came about. But yeah, the grief journey is on Facebook. So if anyone needs a support group, I do that, and I do live sessions the first Thursday of every month. So you can jump in and join that. On Facebook, Instagram, my business is It's Your Choice, and that's where you can contact me or reach me. My website is www.natalielamb.me. And so you can always go there to find the books, find other, adventures that I'm doing. I try to keep it moving, right? Because we got to stay active, to keep life enjoyable, right? But yeah, if anybody needs, a coach of any sort, feel free to reach out. And I
Yeah.
would love to partner with you as we journey through life.
Yeah, I'm really interested in the grief support groups, and I think that's a good one. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining us
Thank you.
today. Thank you for all that you do for your community. Thank you for all that you've been doing. And I know that God actually brought us together for a reason. So I really want to appreciate you for what you do and for being sincere enough to share as much as you could, you know, and not holding back on anything. Thank you so much. So, for your listening, as usual, you know that we're going to definitely give our three takeaways that we got from all that Natalie has talked about today. And the first one is that um, healing is not a one-way traffic. Healing is a continuous journey. So there is no way you say, "Oh, I'm healed today." No, it's like a lifetime thing. So we keep learning and healing every day. So take that one step today and keep moving. Then the next one is that you need to give yourself some grace. Like I always say, at the beginning of this year, God told me grace. I heard that word grace. I'm like, grace, grace, grace. And I know what grace is so much, and I
Yes.
know what it means to have the grace of God. So grace is what you need to give to yourself. Give yourself grace and receive the grace of God. You are worthy of love and understanding, even in your hardest moments. So, and I know the last one is that there is always hope on the other side of pain. So, even if it feels like it's just so far away, hope is very close. So, just keep moving, taking that one step every day. The days you don't feel like going out, don't worry, just lie down, take a blanket, cover yourself, and have a very good rest because that's what you need at that time. So just understand that you're not doing this journey for nobody. You're doing it for yourself, and your self love is the first thing that you need to take care of. So it is your priority to take care of yourself, and whatever it's going to take for you to take good care of yourself, just do that. So as we close, I want to share one of our favorite passages, which we always share here, and because it reminds me of God's healing power, and that is the Lord is near to the brokenhearted, and he
Hearted.
saves the crushed in spirit. So that is Psalm 34, verse 18. And the next quote I'm going to take right now is the quote that has helped me in my grief journey, and that is: grief is not a sign of weakness, no, it's lack of faith. It is the price of love. So it's
Mm,
because you love that you're grieving. If you don't love, you will not grieve. So understand that, and just take up that blanket. And because you love that person, drop it somewhere and rise up and keep moving, because that's what we need to do. So I have one question for your listening today, and that is: what has grief taught you that you never expected to learn? So please, in this journey, I want you to write to us at grief2gracenow@gmail.com, or you go to our website and also put it down, or you comment, you put your comment down below. So we love you. We love you for all that you do. I want to just thank you all for always staying put and following through and sending those beautiful messages. Yes, I know I need to receive those emails, but I also need
mm,
those emails in my comments. So send those comments, those emails you send to me, put them in the comments and let people know how much this program, this is actually helping, because we're looking at doing a lot at the end of this year. We have a lot of activities coming out, fundraisers and other stuff that we need to do. And I know that there are a lot of people that need us at this time, and we are going to do as much as we can. And that is why I keep saying the only way we can do that is get a copy of this book, and every most the income goes straight to the cause that we believe in. Thank you so much for joining. Do you have anything to say to our audience today?
I will tell the audience, keep giving yourself permission to
Yeah.
be human, give yourself permission to grieve, and fight through the feelings. Allow yourself to feel it. Trust that it's going to go away in time if we can honor it. But it's okay for you not to be okay. And it's
Wow. Thank
okay for you to find your way.
That's true. So I have that T-shirt. We sell it on Grief to Grace. It's okay not to be okay. I love that, because you don't need to be okay all the time. Okay, just know that. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like, to subscribe to Grief to Grace. It's Grief to Grace on all platforms. So you're looking for us, just go Grief to Grace and you find me. So it's Grief to Grace on Facebook, Grief to Grace on Instagram, Grief to Grace on YouTube, Grief to Grace on Spotify, on Apple Podcast and all of our podcasts. And it's Grief to Grace on TikTok, everywhere we are is Grief to Grace. Follow us for more lifting conversation as we help you to move from being stuck to being unstuck. Thank you for joining us again today. Thank you for being there. Until next time, I am Ruth Hephzibah, and I'm reminding you that even in your deepest grief, there is grace waiting to be found. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye.